Mugabe, aka fun person. I don't know how else I can introduce him, but yeah.
Thank you. Hello. Good evening. Some energy, huh? I see only young people now. Energy is like we are 60. Eh? So good evening, guys. Welcome to StartHub. Now, one thing I know about StartHub is that we are very energetic. Yeah, that's why every event that we have, we first start with an energizer, and then we actually jump into the event. And today we are not, going to differ from that. Throughout the session, we need a lot of energy. We are young people. And also the person we are hosting is also a young person. The moderator is, I think, the oldest in the room, but regardless, we move. To talk about StartHub, we are a venture building organization. And what does that mean is we support businesses. We do it in very many ways. First, we focus on tech businesses and manufacturing businesses. So if you have a tech idea or a manufacturing idea, we are your guys. How do we support you? Most times we support you from ideation till you're able to, raise funding. Now, we call that pipeline, from the time you get the idea till the time, you're able to raise funding. Sometimes we support businesses that are already in existence. And then another way, we do a bit of consultancy. And how do we do that? We work with existing companies like Stanbic, CFAO, all those very, very big companies. We help them, implement projects. Some of the projects we are so far, working on, we are working on a consultancy project with UNICEF, working on a consultancy project with CFAO, with Stanbic, with other many companies, National Labour Organization, and others. And, there are very many amazing people who work on that or who make that happen. You'll continue seeing them around. And on my side, my name is Derek Mugabe. I work as a project manager and a bit of consultancy here and there. And also I do events for StartHub. That's where you'll keep seeing me running around. And also a bit of comms or communications. Yeah. And tonight I am going to be your very, very humble moderator. And on that point, allow me to give you the profile of our guest speaker. Of course, you can see a bit of it there, but I'll read it because I failed to memorize it. It was too long. So the person we are hosting tonight is Abbas Mpindi. But to go through his profile, he's the CEO of the Media Challenge Initiative, MCI. Anyone from MCI here? Some noise? Nice. And MCI is a Ugandan-based organization building the next generation of journalists in the country. Mpindi believes that good journalism can make the world a better place through the stories journalists tell and how they tell them. So please remember that. The stories they tell and how they tell them. Under MCI, Mpindi oversees the MCI Media Hub, MCI Radio, Solutions Now Africa, platforms that are amplifying media innovations and using solutions journalism to challenge negative narrative about Africa. Mpindi's story has been published by Huffington Post, CNN Africa Voices, and in 2018 his work was put on Spotlight by President Barack Obama in his Mandela 100 lecture in South Africa. Mpindi is a winner of the 2024 Elevate Prize, a 2023 Africa Visionary Fellow, 2018 Obama Leader, 2018 Tony Elumelu Entrepreneur, and a Young Emerging Leaders Program Fellow. Guys, this is an entire PDF. Eh? It's a big thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. Abbas Mpindi. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to jump right in, I'll tell you a very small story. I met Abbas in 2022, 2021, when I had an idea, to host entrepreneurs in the country. And I went to MCI, tried to sell to him the idea. I won't go into the details, but I was really inspired by the work he has done. And over time, I've always told a few of my friends, because I also have a background in journalism, that the person I look up to is Abbas. So today, I cannot be more humbled.
Well,
I'll say that I'm very humbled, and also to Make it clear, I finally achieved my dream. I host entrepreneurs here, just like I dreamt, and it's by God's grace, yeah. But let's jump into the stories. Let's jump into the stories that we are here to tell, and also to put a buzz on the spotlight. The Media Challenge Initiative.
Yes.
Where does it all start from?
Good evening. Hello. MCI, Media Challenge Initiative, 2012. I'm a student of journalism. I go to ask for an internship. Someone at the reception, security, says you need to know someone in the media house. I don't know anyone, but I have the passion, the skill. I stop at the door. I just say, go back. At the back of my mind, I'm wondering, how many people walk there every day and they just get the same response. So when I went back to school, I was thinking, how do you reduce the gap between a young journalist and a media manager? And so we started a news anchoring competition named after Bala Francis. How many of you know Bala Francis? Good. There's some old people here. We went to the old man and said, look, I have an idea to organize a competition and name that competition after you. And he said, go ahead, but don't ask for money from me. We organized a horrible event to my standards, because we had a budget of 99 million. We got only 300,000 Uganda shillings, and we still continued and pulled off the event. That set us off for what has become Media Challenge Initiative, from a news anchoring competition annually to a media academy to train young journalists to launching a fellowship program that has led to graduation of over 100 young journalists into the media industry, to setting up now the Media Hub, which is an incubation space for young journalists and storytellers, and then to now being here and being hosted to tell my story. Yeah, so that's pretty much the summary of the journey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I before we go into the actual MCI, I think many of the people here are really young, and I could say they are founders, and many of them, the businesses have just started. I was talking to a lady, she's over there. She started her business last month in March, yeah? So she's the youngest founder here. So
welcome.
You keep saying we in your story, and I want to probably go into that. How do you get these people who believe in your vision? But most importantly, how do you sell the vision to them at such an early stage?
So I say we because first of all, it's not just me. I'm not the only founder of MCI. We are 4 of us. There's Antonio Chisembo, who leads our training. There's Ivan Chimuli Chigozi, used to work on NTV, leads our production. And Simon Peter Senyondo, who leads our operations. So I get the light in most cases. People will say, oh, that's the CEO. But there's that formidable team of 3 others who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure. So when I'm talking in a we format, it's very much representative of those 3 gentlemen that I work with and I've worked with the last 10 years. I also say we because we have a team now of 30 people, 30 plus. So at the end of the day, you can't say I, but the real people that do the real work behind the scenes. What we can do for us as entrepreneurs who get the light is to be cognizant of the fact that it's not just you, and it will never be you. And I could sell a vision to anyone, and they could come on board. But they also have their visions in life. So you have to recognize that the gratitude is a must in that journey. So, and then we started with a lot of other people who had to go to other things in life, and we still have those. Each and every person has a contribution to the work of Media Challenge Initiative, and that person could be a student who has gone through the fellowship program. Their story is still as intact to the organization as my story to the organization. They may not sit here, they may get a chance to tell their story to another person. We talk about people at office like someone who mans the security of the organization, right? That person stays there every night when you're not there. And you're the founder, but you don't know what happens at night. But that person is always there at night, and you find them in the morning. And I kid you not, if you don't recognize the work that the people at probably, let's say, the lower tier of the staff, that's the most important. That's the engine of the organization. People who ensure that the hygiene of the place is meticulous. Those are the ones that you represent here. And they don't say clean the office. They actually, whatever they're doing is towards the vision of building the next generation of journalists. So they walk in every day knowing whatever contribution you need to sell to them. The idea is like, you actually don't come here to do security work. You are part of the vision of building the next generation of journalists. Not all of us are going to get this vision at the same time, but the appreciation of each and everyone understanding it is really important. If you are, welcome to the world of entrepreneurship. You are going to always be tired, but it's very rewarding to be able to build something, especially in our economy where you have to cross borders to ask for money and then come back. So overall, I would say part of the thing that I enjoy most to do is to share the story, but also ensure that the people that I work with at least get to appreciate that they are part of the vision that we're building.
Interesting. And I really, really love how you talk so passionately about your team. That is super commendable.
Thank you.
However, I would want us to talk about, challenges. It's called Media Challenge, but we want to talk about the challenges as a founder. And we're actually organizing an event that will be bi-monthly, where we just come and talk about challenges entrepreneurs face. You talk about, wanting to raise 99 million, and then you raised 300,000. And I think that was the beginning of the challenges. But also take me through a couple of other issues that you're able to solve because you are a team at the beginning or the inception of MCI. And probably how much of the credit would you give to the fact that you had a team behind MCI when you guys were just starting?
I think the starting young is very reckless, but it's also very, you don't have anything to lose. You still have time to take risk, and if it doesn't work in 1 year, you can still go look for a job. However, you have a huge challenge of inexperience, but also you have a huge challenge of you won't be accepted by the mainstream people who have resources, right? So you walk into spaces and everyone looks at you and says, okay, you want 99 million? Have you ever even, how much have you ever had in your hands? 100K? So there's issues of trust, and we grow up traditionally, we as cultures, I don't think we appreciate the experience of young people. So you until you're a certain age, then we can initiate you into certain things of mature men and women. So that's the biggest challenge for young entrepreneurs, because you have a great idea and it could go places, but the spaces where I was operating, at least there was that sort of like to penetrate and prove a point. The thing that I appreciate most about having a team is because at the moment when you're about to say, okay, this is not going to work, there's someone on the team who says, I think we should try this way. I think I know someone. And that's for me the benefit of having co-founders, is because there are certain networks I have that you don't have. There are certain networks my other co-founders have that I don't have. So if we are stuck here, the other person says, you know what, I think we can talk to the other person. And maybe that person believes our story and talks to another person. I never want to talk about funding as a challenge, because I think you can make money. I think the biggest challenge is overall really the inexperience of running anything, because it comes with structures, it comes with emotions, it comes with dealing with people and understanding like bureaucracy of applications, bureaucracy of systems that you've never been part of. Now, I tell people that for me, I'm very much an accidental leader, because I didn't grow up seeing like, oh, that's a father who is a leader, or that's someone who's like manager of an NGO, right? So whatever I was trying is really like, oh, you're the CEO now, okay. Now, what does the CEO say again? So you find like you are thrown into the deep end at a young age, and you really don't know how to deal with situations. So whatever you're doing is really speaking with passion. And passion sells. And passion can be practiced. And that's, if there's anything you can forget to take, don't forget that you can actually practice. If you love something, you can practice how to speak about it passionately. And for us, and for you, not us, now me, I'm old. For you young ones, the passion will like open spaces. You have the advantage of being young, and that is a competitive advantage, but most importantly, the passion that comes with that. And that's what the other old person had when they were you, and now they don't have, but they see themselves in you, and they want to be able to reach out and say, you know what, let me give this young person a chance. So, but that passion has to be backed up with a certain level of like experience. How do you write proposals? How do you develop a business plan? How do you pitch something? How do you do all these things? And so being aware of the challenges that are coming with the responsibility you're taking means I have to do research. I have to see how other people are pitching. I have to learn, YouTube, whatever, everywhere, right? The work that you're going to spend in this position is to bridge that, the difference between your passion and the idea that you have to having the experience to be able to say, when someone says, send me the concept, right? Can I have it in the morning? It doesn't take 3 weeks. Why? Because you don't know how to write a concept, right? So you bridge that gap by practicing all the time. And it's a painful process when you don't have an example, when you don't have anyone to look up to, or a mentor that you can call and say, hey, how do you develop a budget? Okay, this is what I have, just numbers, but can this be submitted to an embassy? Of course not, right? And remember, there are other people that you're competing with. So for me, the thing that spaces like, StartHub are bridging is that level of like turning a passionate young person into profession, right? Into that professional touch that allows them to know certain things, to navigate the requirements of running a company. Because yes, we can all have ideas, but when the rubber hits the ground, there are things that are needed, right? Are you organizing an event? Yes. Do you have a concept? Where's the concept? Where's the budget? Where's the program? Bare minimum. Can we start from there? Because that's it. Can you do a concept? Yes. Can you do a budget? Yes. Can we do the other things? We'll fix, like registration of companies next. But the bare minimum, like starting point, and being able to get, because a lot of people have ideas. I meet many young people that have brilliant ideas, but turning that out of their brain onto a piece of paper and being able to send it to someone it's a huge gap, and guys are making it work.
Yeah, we are proud to, be part of the ecosystem, trying to help entrepreneurs take shape. And actually talking about taking shape, from the vision to actually building structures, sustainable structures at that, or actually we could say efficient or effective structures. Probably you could take us back again. I think I'm really so much interested in how the whole thing started. How do you realize that, we actually have to sit down and formalize this thing? And when you sat down and decided to do it, how was your story? Or what is your story? What are some of those memorable days that you have at the back of your mind that are attributed to the whole thing of structure? Because when I look at, for example, at StartHub, we also have around 30 employees in 3 countries. And when I look at our co-founders, trying to manage these teams, trying to manage the structures, and everything that has to do with running teams, it really fascinates me. But I would want to know from inception, how was it, and what was the trigger to actually formalize this vision?
Friendship. I mean, I'll give it to the team here, Matthias, right, and Laura. I think that the difference between our education system and probably the education system in Germany and other countries is that some of these concepts are introduced at an early age. And here, I don't know. We can discuss that. But for us, MCI, the first thing that really worked well was friendship. So myself and my 3 co-founders and others, we would meet and say, we want to organize this event. So Abbas, you can write the concept. So I had done an internship where someone had mentored me into doing that. So do the concept, fine. Basic, really. Now, the reason why I'm saying friendship as a bedrock for us was we would meet at Antonio's restaurant back then, and we would just sit and say, where will you go? This person would go to Makerere, the other person would go to this university, another person would go to the other university. No one would ask for transport. We would just walk. And around 5 p.m., we would come back and meet in the same place. Buy a glass of juice and talk over it. Okay, what did you bring from this? And we would find that commitment from each and every, like the 4 of us, would help us to start like, I kid you not, like this respect for each other in terms of like it's blood and sweat from everyone. There was never like, oh, you are the CEO, you're doing more than the other person. No, that's the first. I speak for MCI on that. And so when do we begin to formalize things? When we start to work with the universities, we were at an institute, so we would leave the institute to become independent, and we would move with our idea. Now, when we were at the institute, we would use the letterheads of the university. So we were official like that. The moment you're out, you're on your own. Now, the desire is that you need to have a registration, and none of us had like that experience. Like, oh, you have to talk to a lawyer and then you need all this money. for me, what is one of the big highlights was when we wanted to start the first media academy, and we agreed that let's sit down and create a curriculum, and none of us had an idea of how to create a curriculum. I remember saying, you know what, let's just have a PowerPoint and put like things that we didn't study, that we love to study, but we never got a chance to study. So we have this PowerPoint where we put all these amazing ideas, radio, TV, and one of our co-founders was already at least training people, so he had that experience. But that PowerPoint is what starts that's the first official thing that we have to, people walk into like this space and they just put that PowerPoint there, and then we have the camera. For like, we have people walking, they were not looking for a PowerPoint. They were not even looking for a teacher. What they really wanted is a space that can allow them to practice something. And one of the things you need to be able to understand is, what do your people that you claim to serve, what do they really want? And what are they looking for? And what's their desire? And everyone would come in and say, I want to go in the radio studio. And just present, right? And once you understand that, like, that's where your selling point is, build that. So we started to build that, training one of my co-founders, Simon, more in radio and becoming more articulate around building his capacity to train other young people in radio presentation and production. Then passion is key. So for me, I am blessed with the strength to share stories, but also to like share my passion with others. So whenever I got a chance to share our story, I would make sure that I leave you drenched in it so that you can call me again. So we started getting support from other organizations that would say, okay, what do you want? We would say, okay, we want training. They would come and train us to be trainers. And so it would become more articulate and more professional with our training. And then they would help us with, building curriculum, more professional curriculum. For like, all these things around, formalization of the registration and all those things come later, right? And you start building from the point of understanding what's the need of the community rather than, do I have a company, right? So for me, first, find the problem, fix it. People will not even ask if you are registered, if they know that you're fixing something. People will want to see like you are the guy that is fixing the pain point that I have. And so once we realized that, we started to build more on that, and then the registration, getting support for organizational consultancy, for us to become more legitimate when we are now beginning to request for more monies. There are certain things that we're still doing even right now, because every day the industry is requiring even more, things from us. So if you're now running a news platform, there are certain licenses that you need to be able to have. So every day there will be something new that makes you formal. I think for someone who is really, really starting, or even they have something, the biggest work that needs to be done is around fixing the model and how that, either business model or the idea model, and how it fixes the challenge of the community or the target that you are working, that you claim to serve. Because any other person who wants to invest in you, they don't want to invest in you as an individual. Of course, we say, people invest in people, that's fine. but they also, most importantly, invest in people that have an idea that it works, right? If the idea doesn't have impact, so first sort that out, and then the other things begin to fall into place. I haven't met any entrepreneur that says we had everything that is, registration and all these at the back of our mind fixed before the idea, got traction.
Interesting. And I'll talk now. This time I'll talk about you as a leader. When we were having the networking event, I was talking to someone and they asked me where is the guest speaker, and I said he's a gentleman in an orange jumper. Like, are you being serious? I'm like, yes, I'm serious. I thought he's a media person, and I'm like, yes, he's a media person. And the person said, I thought he'd come in a suit, but the gentleman is in a jumper. And so you've been a leader since 2012, yeah? And you mentioned that you were just thrown into the waters. But I would want to understand, how have you been able to drive this? And I can only say that MCI is just growing, MCI is still growing. We've seen you in New York, Times Square. We've seen the media van, coming, SDG's media van, yeah? We are seeing MCI taking over the whole floor at True Party. I think you're going to chase that gym. I won't say. So I can say you're just growing, but it's been at a distance. It's been years of being a leader. How did you develop the thick skin, to keep MCI moving? And as someone who was just thrown into the waters, how did you learn on the job, and how has been your story as a leader?
So first of all, let me talk about my hoodie. Right. One is that I love this hoodie. I love hoodies, first of all. But the other thing is, this particular one has message, which is journalism can make the world a better place. For us, it's the reason why we wake up. So for you, 1 week into business, why are you waking up every? And that waking up, it can't be money. There has to be a reason why. That reason could give you all the other things that you want to access, and you have to find that. So for us, we know this, and but the other thing about changing how people see leadership is really important to just be you. Feel great in whenever and however you want to show up. So I went to Chambogo to speak to students, and I told them about who I was as a student, and the people we studied together and who they've become. Not that we're comparing any, but the idea of how people we tend to judge a lot, right? Based on what we have as a stereotypical sort of what we're told as, who is a gentleman, for example, and how do you dress up? Not that I'm against, this guy with a coat, but we need to think and allow that, that processes a little bit more with people. The journey for me, man, leadership, I don't know, that song about it's lonely at the top, it's close to home for me. And the reason is that the day you begin to say, I'm taking on this responsibility, know that it's going to come with a sudden loneliness around you, trying to find answers for each and every problem that shows up, right? And that problem could be these insects that you didn't even invite here. Because you are the guy in the room, you have to fix that. And so I say, for me, leadership is you're thrown into the deep end, and I don't think I had ever sat down to say I want to be CEO. people, when they ask me now, they say, okay, what do you want to do after maybe MCI? And I say, I want to be a DJ. They say, really? Like, it's just they like leadership for me. As I've come to like go through different program, I've realized it's really the duty to serve and the duty to love others and the duty to care for others. Once you have that responsibility and you're able to take it, then the other mantras of management and then comes with like, I am very curious person and I love to build that energy as part of my brain work. So all the time trying to be curious about things, being interested in others and what they're doing, being interested in new things, being interested in solving problems in our communities. But there's also the desire of looking at 40, 50 years from now. What do we want this country to look like? What do we want our villages to look like? When you have children, do you actually ever think about what you want your child to go through, right? Or are you just having children? Because you can just have them. But thinking really deeply about, intention about like the world you want to create for each and every person. And those questions for me can throw you into the desire to lead. And that may not be, like I tell people, now I know that I love to create platforms for other people to find their potential. Now I know that for me, journalism can make the world a better place. I know that if I shifted and left MCI and I went into another world, I still have the desire to create platforms. So I will still use that space to create more platforms for other young people. If I decided to retire and go to the village, I will still find, that thread of like, where are the young people in this community? Let's do something about it. So find that and let that be your sort of like leadership from a service point of and don't expect anything. I feel like every time you do crazy ideas without expecting like immediate outcome of like, oh, it's gonna bring money, it's going to bring this fame and everything, it just multiplies to a level that you would never ever imagined. So for me, that's really my drive, and I know that I've grown so much in terms of like how I see myself now compared to like 10, 15 years ago. But what's it also very interesting, and I do this with fellows, is if you're able to look at your story, try reflect. Now for you, think about your desire for moderating and how much you've been pushing each and every door, right? And where that comes from, you'll find. So my journalism journey is really tracked back to my grandmother, who would ask me to read newspapers for her and just tell her the stories that are in the newspapers. And that is like a 7-year-old me. If you look at that journey and now, and how much I've stayed holding on to that thread, I know it comes from somewhere, right? It's not like, oh, I've been thrown there, now I want to be. There was a time I wanted to be on TV, on radio, everywhere. I think my calling is not to be on that. My calling is to create spaces for the other people to just be the best on those. And so think about it, even for everyone here, just think about where you've come from and where you are now and the things you're building. There must be sort of like pathways back that can be an experience, a person, some values that you come through, a struggle, something that you've seen and said, this should never happen again. And it's really important, again, it's really important for us to think about where that energy comes from, because that's what answers why we wake up every day. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, It's been like probably half an hour into the discussion. But to remind you, at the end of this discussion, you'll be allowed to ask a few questions that you may have. I understand we have a couple of founders in the room. We also have people who are really passionate about journalism. I see Maf Mahani over there. He's such a great young man. Immaculate over there. I think all these people are from MCI. Yeah, it's great impact.
Yeah.
And also a few people from New Vision and all the other people that are in the room. Later on, will be allowed to ask questions that you may have. So let's jump into a bit of the technical things away from the story. I understand that also before I go into that, I think many of us who are founders here really have that instant gratification thing where you start something and you promise your girlfriend that by December you're going to be driving, which is usually very unrealistic. Usually very unrealistic. And again, when I
or your boyfriend.
Yeah, or your boyfriend. Yeah, you promise him 4 car tires on his birthday. Yeah, because you've just started a jewelry shop. But really, those things never. They are. I think they are wrong, really. And for me, why I'm saying that, when I always listen to your story, there is a very big aspect of patience and humility attached to it. Yeah, and if there is something I pick really from your story, I really want to keep those two. Humility and patience from what you've told us and from the things I've had. But again, let's jump into the technical bits. Systems. To run a company of over 30 people in such an economy, I've had a couple of entrepreneurs say the government is against them rather than supporting them. How do you do it? And what is your philosophy?
I expect a lot of things from the government. But I also don't expect. I expect that the government, creates an environment that allows us to thrive as entrepreneurs. And to systems, I am not a traditional manager. I want to enable people to do their work, and so it's hard to find me with like carrot stick running around. It's easier for me to believe in people, because I think that's what I wanted when I was desiring to start anything. Just like believe that a young person can do something. They will fail, you can guide, you can mentor, but give a chance. So my philosophy is that I don't do management by walking around, which is called Imbwa. I serve with the point of, I want each and everyone to understand why this is important to them and why they are doing it. We can have, can create a structure, administration, and have people actually try to enjoy the work that they do, and then create a space where you can have conversations and provide feedback. I probably will not be the best example to tell people about, how to create these big systems within organization. And the reason is I am free range system, kind of, that allows, like, when you come in, the thing that I love to ask people is, what's your dream, right? Because I want your dream to understand your dream first. Reason being, if I don't know your dreams, or if your dreams are not anywhere here connected to anything around our work, then potentially you may not be there for a long time, or you may not enjoy the work that you're doing. So let's start with your dream and purpose. Like, tell me, what are you looking for in life? Okay, even 2 years from now, if you leave MCI, what do you see happening? How can I contribute to that? Or how can this work contribute to that? What do you enjoy doing? And And you find like those starting conversations helps you to understand what that person, and this can be as let's say graphic designer, right? So I ask a graphic designer, what is your, like, what are you looking for in life? Why are you doing this? What inspires you? And you listen to stories of designers, and so you get that energy of like, okay, I can work with this person. This people first approach and sort of that duty to care for your team is really important for me. And again, I can trace it back to where I come from. So if I had grown up probably in a, let's say, if I had gone to a seminary, because one of my colleagues is like, has that background. So, and that's also the other thing about if you have a chance to create a team and systems, a team can help you to achieve, those, whatever you put in place. Reason being, you find people who are talented in different ways. So my head works super fast. And so I am probably like all over the place with ideas like, let's do this, how about this, how about that, or this. But my colleague Simon is very structured, right? He knows like, this is what we need to do. Compliance issues, like, yeah, man, compliance, do we have to do that? So, but you get this person, if you're up there, this person gets you back like, oh, wait, right? And so all our colleagues have different like strengths that they bring. So my role, which I think is sort of like a God-given gift, is that I've been training that, is to allow myself to facilitate those skills and those strengths. And that's one leadership aspect you have to build. Like, once you start an organization, can you facilitate and know like, this guy will be the best guy to put in operations. I need that guy in the finance office because I will spend the money, right? When I want something, I want it to look really good. So I need someone who can say, Sebo, we actually don't have that money, so you need to go slow. I need someone who will be able to say, I care so much about people, so I might struggle to like say, let's fire that person. So I need that person that can say, you know what, enough is enough. Your chances, hey, okay, bye, thank you very much. Good. Does that make sense? So but my role, what I think my team really taps into so much is facilitating those. So if I put those people on a table, I know how to get the best out of all of them. And that's something, if you want, being able to say, hey, Morgan, I know that you are the person that can speak on behalf of this organization. I won't be here, but I want you to represent us, right? Here are the talking points. If you need any support, reach out, right? I know him. I know that the finance department is safe with you. Take care of that. If you're running a project, you know your people who are like, okay, what can I ask from him? What can he do for me? What can I get from her? And so that helps you to build. There is nothing like a system if people don't believe in themselves. And you are the one that helps the team. And the systems don't make sense if there are no people, right? And so the people that are in that system have to believe in themselves that they can run the system. So set it up, but they can abuse it. Give them a chance, especially if you're working with young people. And all of us here, you're going to work with young people because you can't afford old talent. So once you're working with a young person who has never worked before, it's a process. You have to be patient, and you have to be humane enough to remember that you also made those mistakes. so that you don't. I don't like anyone shouting at me. So, because I don't like that, I don't want anyone to feel that. And if I do it out of like, I get a time to apologize. Whether that person is, lower position or higher position. And also you talked about humility, but all the time within these teams, there's going to be rough edges all the time. Disagreements, maybe, shouting at each other sometimes. What keeps us, also by the way, you need to do a very good study around how many people have found things together, co-founders like above 4 or 3 who last for some time. It's really hard because dreams change, aspirations change, spaces stop working for you. So the question that we sit down, so like I think right now maybe we're not talking much because everyone is busy like doing their own thing. But there's times when we realize, wait, before we actually think about this work and all these positions, we are actually friends. So let's check in and see how each person is doing. So to say, hey man, like, okay, now Abbas is checking in, right? Like, not the CEO. Do you see me? I recently introduced something at office, just a check-in mechanism. People laugh at it, but I think it's really cute. It's pies, so physically, intellectually, emotionally, and then spiritually. How are you doing? And because I have a friend, we check on each other using like, how are you physically, how are you intellectually, how are you emotionally, how are you spiritually. You could be physically tired, or you could be intellectually, working and sound. You could be emotionally exhausted. You could be spiritually grounded, right? But that person is able to know where you are and know, okay. And if they really care about you, they can ask more. Or maybe not that time, maybe afterwards. They can say, hey, realize you mentioned that emotionally you are everywhere. What does it mean? And then you can say, hi. Okay, I will tell you. So trying to remember that you're actually working with human beings in this space. That, Tori wachitalo nyonga bolowoza. You can, anytime. You're just a human being. You're not like these CEO positions. They are good, but man, the moment you go back home, it's just actually you, right? And the only people that you have are friends, family that you go back to. Everyone, whether you are top Jeff Bezos, whatever, Bill Gates. At a certain point, you go back home, you go in the bathroom, sit on the toilet, and cry. Because maybe something is not working, or because you feel like you push yourself so much that your mental health is not giving. Yeah.
Interesting. And has anyone realized that we had a human resource management masterclass just a few minutes ago? Yeah? If you're keen enough, you noticed. And that was really interesting because part of my work, I really work with very many human resource managers. And actually in the room, we have Mark, HR manager from La Paire. Mark, you could wave. La Paire is one of the most innovative companies we have in the country, and they're also very fast growing, I should say, and thanks to the people who are recruiting the right people, people-centered approach. But I would want, another thing, I went to a seminary for 6 years, yeah? You mentioned that. And
yeah, you look like one. Clap for this guy, by the way.
Interesting. Are they clapping because I went to a seminary?
No, because you're really good at your work.
Thank you. I'm humbled.
And also seminary.
The question is, why didn't I complete? But that's a story for another day. That's a story for another day. So I want us to narrow down a bit, because we've talked about systems for a large entity like MCI. There is someone here, he mentioned he's doing something to do with media. He has an initiative, right? She just started her company in March. And I think there are other people who are doing amazing things. In the room, I think there was a lady from ShareCard, probably she has left. Someone who is starting out, when they want to build systems, what do you think should be the considerations? Now, I do imagine probably they don't have, they can't afford the right talent, probably. And if they do, probably they can't keep them. And again, we're living in a world that is fast changing. Yeah, today probably it is Google, tomorrow it is AI, the other day it is something else. Someone who wants to build systems and they're just starting out, what is your advice to them from your experience?
I mean, again, like for me, systems are. So I think that, first of all, if you are just starting as an individual, you are the system. You are really the system, because it gets back to discipline, right? Can you create a routine that allows you to be ahead of everyone? And if you are just like, I don't know, what are you running?
It's like consultancy, but basically into bookkeeping and financial reporting.
Okay, so, and you're just you?
We are two, but I'm the major person.
Okay, so the reason why I say discipline and being ahead of everyone is that you, according to me at least, is that you are the example to the next person that is working with you, right? So the discipline is key, because imagine that you are starting this company now, and you know, for you to get, I don't know how many clients you have to get for you to be able to break even. You know all these numbers, because that's like bare minimum the system. Like, how many clients do I need to break even, to pay my rent if you have an office, or to pay the next person that works with you? Because for them, they are there because you are paying, or they're there because they really love to work with you and they're inspired by your spirit and they believe in the idea. And so if you don't have the discipline to be able to say, okay, for us to hit these targets, we have to do A, B, C, and D. Now that becomes your work. So up to now, even when I'm tired, I know that I really need to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. And sometimes it's not possible. At least 6:30, when I'm like, oh, God. But when I wake up at 5, I'm celebrating, right? And now I feel like psychologically, I feel like I'm ahead of a lot of people who are still sleeping. But the real person that I'm ahead of is me, because I want to go to office and do certain work before my team gets into the office to start us doing the administration questions here and there. So a lone ranger, the first thing is yourself, you're the system. The discipline to be able to set the targets and live up to them and celebrate them. These other things, compliance issues, structures, those organically begin to fall into place once you get the business, once you get the money, and once you get these demands from like, now you need to work with StartHub. Oh, do you have a TIN number? Oh no, I don't have a TIN number. Okay, now you have to hire him to fix that for you because you don't have the time, right? But the first work that needs to be done is like the credibility of the product. And that's why I say you as the co-founder, as the founder. That's the first thing that you need to be able to do. Apart from that, the other things that we all say, that's the system that I put in place even when I'm away. It can work. When you're starting as an individual, my friend, it's just you. And so the discipline and understanding your idea and how to sell it to others to attract them to either buy the product or the service, and then things that we structures, compliance issues here and there, they fall into place. I know that there are people who don't even care that you have a system. They say, that person, let's have that person. But you know they don't have this. It's okay. That's the person we want, right? Get the idea right. The other things fall into place. And you may not even be the one. Once you get the concept into place, you might hire a great guy to do that because you are not the guy for it. Know the thing you're good at. So I know that there are things that I'm not good at and I will not be able to achieve them even if I tried so much. But I will learn so that I am not pushed out of the market. So yeah.
Thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be my last question, and then we shall go into the Q&A from your side. So probably if you have a question, I'll bring it real close so that we do it real fast. My last question is on innovation. I think I mentioned earlier that we are in a very fast-moving world. Things are changing real fast. And I think for companies that have failed, for example, I'll give you a story. I was having a conversation with a former chairman board of a particular bank in this country. And when mobile banking had just come, he mentioned to his board that they would never adopt that because it will never work. And because they refused to adopt it, they were, I think, the last, I don't want to say they were the last bank because you'd know which bank it is, but they were part of the last people to actually adopt mobile banking. And he was so embarrassed because he had refused, he had said a lot of words about mobile banking and anything to do with mobile money because he never thought that it would actually ever work. So in a world that is very fast changing, you do not know what is going to work and what isn't going to work, but then you know that if you delay to adopt, then probably you're going to be kicked out of the market by people who actually adopted very fast. As a leader in such an organization like MCI or even a startup, how do you, work around that, making sure that you are ahead, but at the same time making the right decisions?
Listening is really key, and allowing that when you don't know to accept that, I don't know that area and that I can learn, right? But if you're in, now in the media industry, every day, it's one of the most changing spaces. So every day there's something, there's a new innovation, a new way of doing things, new equipment. So you really may not be able to keep up with everything. So know what your space is all about and what are the trends within that. And I can side with that person that there are certain innovations that will come at you at a certain point and you probably say, this is not this can't work for us. And it's possible that if that person had tried to bring it into their space at that point in time, it might never have worked. Until the whole industry has adopted. Now, there are those late adopters, early adopters, all these things you teach people. So, in essence, the listening is key. Listening on the ground, being curious about the market and how it's changing, accepting when you don't know, and then take risks, right? Take risks. And for me now, because of working with young people, believing. Because when I started, I was just doing this event, and all I needed was someone to say, that's a great idea. And that's it. Fantastic. You'll go places. Keep on. Yes, you are the guy, right? And when you all will have young people at a certain point come to you to say, this idea, you may not help, you may not give them whatever 100% that they're looking for, But taking time, if you have to just listen and help them maybe process and answer, be like, oh, what do you think about this? And if you don't know, fine, you don't know. But the innovation, know your industry. If you're in agriculture, know what's working there and what's the new thing. If you're in agriculture and take it to a notch and you're in cattle keeping, know what is there. Under that, know, are you in which type of, cattle? Then go up to, like, I know in journalism education, so my interest is like, okay, what are the new ways of, other universities are using outside of this country to train their students, okay? What are the other academies doing in other countries? Okay, we are an innovation hub now. What support do these young people, innovators need? Can I afford? Maybe I can't afford. Who can afford it? What's the new technology? Can we adopt it? Maybe we can't. Curiosity is really key, and I think our age and time compared to our ancestors, we see things. We've seen things in movies. They've turned out real in life. So the best thing is for us to actually know that the world out of this country is moving at a very, very fast pace. And so I was telling someone that, I served on the National Task Force for Fourth Industrial Revolution. Long thing. And I was one of the younger ones on the task force. But there were, the realization that as a country, you have some people who are literally still agriculture revolution. They just have a hoe and they go out there, just dig. Like, it's really just really, really, and then you have, in this same country, a population that's already high-tech. Fourth, they are applying artificial intelligence in ways that you could never imagine. And so when you meet those people, they're still in the same country, right? So the question now is, how are we bridging that gap, right? And so for people who are lucky to go to school, finish, go to the university, really, the opportunity is like what for us to look at, like, and not just university, but also the other thing is if you are able to travel. Because when you travel and go out of your country, you see things how things are working in other places. So being able to know, come either educate your people or bring back some knowledge is really, really key. But otherwise, for us, we are here, other people are somewhere else.